Welcome back to the deep dive. I am fully caffeinated. I've got a stack of papers here that is honestly a little intimidating, and I am ready to go.
I see that stack. It is impressive.
It is. But before we even whisper a word about today's topic, I have a very specific job to do. A mission, if you will.
You do. It's the housekeeping.
It is the housekeeping, but it's crucial housekeeping. Listen, if you're listening to this voice right now, I need you to just, glance at your screen, don't pause the audio, and hit that subscribe button.
Right now.
Right now, whether you're on the app, the website, wherever you get your audio fix.
It really, really does make a difference. It's not just a vanity thing.
It makes a huge difference. I mean, we spend hours combing through, honestly, sometimes incredibly boring, dense, eye-watering documents to find the gold nuggets so you don't have to.
We read the boring stuff for you.
We do. And subscribing tells the algorithm that we're doing something useful here. It helps us grow, and it keeps this whole operation running. So please, hit subscribe and check out the website mentioned in the show notes.
It helps us keep turning dense text into usable knowledge.
Ideally, knowledge that keeps you out of prison.
Chuckles, that is the goal.
Exactly, which is a perfect segue.
Yeah.
Because today, we are looking at a document that is literally the difference between I'm a bad manager having a rough week
and I am a convicted felon going to state prison.
That is not an exaggeration. We are looking at the Texas Penal Code, specifically Chapter 39. The title is Abuse of Office.
Right. And most people, when they hear penal code, their eyes just glaze over. They tune out.
Instantly.
They think it's just for lawyers or judges or, criminals. But Chapter 39 is fascinating because it is the rule book for anyone who draws a government paycheck.
And we are not just talking about the governor or, high-level senators here.
No, not at all. We are talking about police officers, jailers, school administrators, county clerks, the person who inspects your favorite restaurant, the person who processes your water bill.
So basically, if you serve the public...
If you serve the public, this text defines the line where your bad decisions become actual criminal acts.
So the mission today is simple. This source is raw legal statute. It is dry. It is dense. It uses words like pecuniary and custodial.
Lots of jargon.
Our job is to translate this into plain English. We're going to dummy it down so that by the end of this hour, you know exactly what a public servant in Texas can and cannot do.
And honestly, looking at the notes, some of what they can do might surprise you just as much as what they can't.
Okay, let's unpack this. Section 1. We have to define the players. Who are we actually talking about here? The statute starts with definitions in Section 39.01.
Right. So the law applies to a public servant. And the text defines a law relating to a public servant's office as well any law that imposes a duty on them or governs their conduct.
So basically, if you are acting in an official capacity, you have a whole special set of rules you have to play by.
That's it. It's like a different class of citizenship almost.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You have powers regular people don't have, but you also have restrictions regular people don't have.
That's the trade-off. When you take the oath, you accept the chains that come with it.
And the big word in this entire chapter, the pivot point for almost every crime we're going to discuss, is misuse.
Misuse, yes. That is the core concept. That's the word that unlocks this whole thing.
So how does the law define that? Because, I misuse my toaster all the time by trying to cook a grilled cheese in it, but I don't go to jail.
Well, unless your toaster is government property, you're probably safe.
Okay, fair point.
Section 39.01 defines misuse very specifically as dealing with property contrary to an agreement, a contract, an oath of office, or a law.
Give me a real-world analogy. Help me visualize this.
Okay, think of it like a company car. If you work for a delivery company, they give you a van. The agreement is you use this van to deliver packages between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Right. Standard employment contract. Makes sense.
If you take that van and, drive it to the beach for a week-long vacation, or you use it to help your cousin move house on the weekend,
You're misusing it.
you are dealing with that property contrary to the agreement. You are misusing it. Now, in the private sector, you get fired. In the public sector, under Chapter 39, you might be committing a crime.
Okay, that brings us to Section 39.02, abuse of official capacity. This seems to be the catch-all section, the real workhorse of the statute.
It is. This is the section that prosecutors use most often when a politician or a bureaucrat gets caught with their hand in the cookie jar.
So what does it say?
The law says a public servant commits an offense if they intend to obtain a benefit or harm someone else. And they do one of two things.
Okay, let's pause on intent for a second. Because that seems critical, right?
It's everything.
So if I'm just an idiot, if I'm a public servant and I accidentally order 5,000 staplers instead of 50 because I'm bad at filling out forms, Am I a criminal?
Generally, no. The statute requires intent to obtain a benefit or with intent to harm or defraud another.
So incompetence is not a crime.
Incompetence is not a crime under Chapter 39. You can be terrible at your job. You can be wasteful due to stupidity. But you cannot be corrupt. You have to mean to do it.
Okay, so assuming I have the intent, I'm trying to score something for myself or, my brother-in-law. What are the two ways I can break the law here?
So the first way is they intentionally violate a law relating to their office. That's a blanket statement.
A catch-all.
It's a huge catch-all. If there's some obscure law that says the county clerk shall not do X and you do X to benefit yourself, you violated 39.02.
And what's the penalty for that?
Yeah.
Just for violating any old rule with intent?
That is automatically a Class A misdemeanor, right off the bat.
Okay, but what's the second thing? The one that seems more common?
The second one is the one we see in the headlines. It's when they misuse government property, services, personnel, or any other thing of value.
Personnel. So like having your secretary plan your daughter's wedding on the clock.
That is the perfect example. Exactly.
Yeah.
That secretary is being paid by the taxpayers to do government work.
Right.
If you have them spending 40 hours a week planning a private wedding, calling florists, booking bands, you are misusing government personnel. You're effectively stealing their time from the public.
And this is where we get into what I call the value ladder. Because
Mm-hmm.
the punishment isn't one size fits all, is it? It depends on what you misuse.
No, and this is standard for theft-style crimes in Texas. It's a sliding scale based on the dollar value of the thing you misused.
Let's walk the listener through this ladder, because I think it puts things in perspective. Let's play a little game of how much trouble am I in?
I like it. Let's do it.
Okay, scenario A. I'm a public official. I'm in a supply closet. I see a nice box of pens and a ream of paper. Value. Let's say $45. I take them home for my kid's school project.
Okay, so that falls into the bottom bracket. If the value is less than $100, that is a Class C misdemeanor.
And what does that mean in real life?
That is basically the level of a traffic ticket. You'll pay a fine, maybe $500. You might get a reprimand, but you aren't going to prison. It's a slap on the wrist.
Okay. Scenario B. I misuse a government credit card, a P card, to buy a really fancy steak dinner for my spouse.
Yeah.
Let's say the bill is $200.
All right, now you've climbed a rung. You're in the $100 to $750 range. That's a Class B misdemeanor.
More serious.
More serious, but still lower level. It goes on your record. You might get probation. Still no prison, but it's a real criminal conviction.
Okay, let's ramp it up. I borrow the city's construction equipment, a backhoe and a dump truck, to pave my own driveway over the weekend. The rental value of that use is, let's say, $1,500.
Now you've crossed the line into Class A misdemeanor territory. That's $750 up to $2,500.
And a Class A is a big deal.
A Class A misdemeanor is serious. You can do jail time for that, up to a year in county jail, and you are almost certainly losing your job and your pension eligibility at that point.
But when do we get to the word felony? Because that's the career ender. That's the lose your voting rights and gun rights territory.
The state jail felony kicks in at $2,500. So if you misuse something worth between $2,500 and $30,000, you are a felon.
Wow. So $2,500 is the magic number. Steal $2,499, it's a misdemeanor. Steal $1 more, you're a felon.
It is. That's the line in the sand. And the ladder keeps going up from there.
Just how high does it go?
Third-degree felony, up to $150,000. Second degree, up to $300,000. And if you misuse something worth more than $300,000, say, you embezzle a massive amount of funds or misuse an entire fleet of vehicles, that is a first-degree felony.
A first-degree felony.
The same category as some murders.
That is wild. So the law really does quantify badness by the dollar.
Strictly by the dollar. There's no nuance there. It's all about the value.
But wait, here is where it gets really interesting to me. I was reading section 39.02D, and I literally laughed out loud. There is a loophole. A very, very specific loophole.
Ah, yes. You found the frequent flyer loophole.
Tell me I'm reading this right. If I am a government official and the government pays for my flight to a conference in Hawaii and I rack up those sweet, sweet frequent flyer miles, those are mine to keep.
Those are yours.
But how? Even though the government paid for the ticket, technically isn't that government property? It has value.
Logic would absolutely say yes. If the government bought the ticket, the rewards generated by that purchase should belong to the government.
Right.
But Section 39.02d explicitly says, a discount or award given for travel, such as frequent flyer miles, rental car or hotel discounts, or food coupons, are not things of value belonging to the government. It carves them out completely.
Why? I mean, let's be cynical for a second. Did the legislators just want to keep their own miles?
I wouldn't rule that out, but the text actually gives a stated reason for this.
What's the official excuse?
It says it is due to the administrative difficulty and cost involved in recapturing the discount.
Well, so the law literally says it's too hard to do the math, so just keep them.
Essentially, yes. Imagine the bureaucracy required to track 300 miles earned by a deputy sheriff on a flight from Houston to Dallas.
Right. The paperwork alone.
It would cost more to track it and account for it than the miles are actually worth. So the Penal Code just gives you a pass.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're too lazy to track it, so it's not a crime. Okay, moving on to subsection E, aggregation. This sounds like a trap for people who think they're being clever.
It is exactly a trap for the clever criminal. Let's go back to your steak dinner example.
Okay, the $200 dinner.
No, let's make it more insidious. Let's say you know that stealing $10,000 is a felony. So instead of taking $10,000 all at once, you decide to use the government gas card to fill up your personal truck.
Okay.
It's $50 a tank. You do this twice a week for 2 years, and you think, hey, each time I do it, it's just $50. That's a Class C misdemeanor. It's nothing. A traffic ticket.
Right. I'm just committing 200 tiny, insignificant crimes. No big deal.
Wrong. Section 39.02e says that if these transactions are conducted pursuant to one scheme or continuing course of conduct, the prosecutor can add them all up.
They do the math.
They do the math. They aggregate the value. So if you stole $50 200 times,
that's $10,000.
You aren't charged with 200 Class C misdemeanors. You are charged with one state jail felony for stealing $10,000.
So you can't nickel and dime your way out of a felony conviction.
You absolutely cannot. If it's part of the same scheme, you go down for the total amount.
Before we leave Section 1, I saw a note about who actually prosecutes this. Section 39.015. It mentions the Attorney General. Now, usually crimes are prosecuted by the local district attorney, right?
Correct. Usually jurisdiction is local. If you commit a crime in Harris County, the Harris County DA prosecutes you. But this law adds a wrinkle.
What's the wrinkle?
It says the Attorney General of Texas can prosecute these cases, but there's a catch.
There's always a catch.
The AG needs the consent of the local county or district attorney. The AG can't just swoop in from Austin and take over an abuse of office case unless the locals say, okay, come help us.
So it's technically concurrent jurisdiction, but it's conditional.
Exactly.
So why would a local DA ever ask for help? Isn't that their job?
Well, think about a potential conflict of interest. Imagine the county judge is the one accused of the crime.
Oh.
The local DA works with the county judge every single day. They might be friends, they might be political allies, their budgets are connected. It's very, very hard to prosecute your colleague.
It's messy.
Super messy. So the DA might call the AG and say, hey, can you handle this one? It's too close to home for us. It provides an out.
Interesting. So it keeps a bit of that local control, but allows for an outside cleaner to come in when needed.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
Okay, let's pivot. We've talked about money and property. Now I want to talk about power. Because Section 39.03 isn't about stealing pens. It's called official oppression.
This is where the tone of the chapter really shifts. We aren't looking at spreadsheets anymore. We are looking at human interaction. This is about people, not things.
Official oppression. It sounds like something from a dystopian novel, like Orwellian Thought Police or something.
It does, but it addresses a very real and unfortunately common problem. It's when a public servant uses the color of their office, basically their badge or their official authority, to treat people cruelly or unlawfully.
So break down the 3 ways you can break this law. Subsection A lists them pretty clearly.
Sure. Number 1 is what they call mistreatment or unlawful acts. This means intentionally subjecting someone to mistreatment, arrest, detention, search, seizure, or lien that the official knows is unlawful.
That phrase, knows is unlawful, that seems like a high bar to prove, doesn't it?
It can be, but give me an example.
Let's say a police officer pulls someone over. They have no probable cause, no warrant, no reason to suspect a crime, but the officer just doesn't like the look of the driver, or maybe they had a bad day. They arrest them anyway just to hassle them.
Perfect. If that officer knows they don't have probable cause for that arrest, and they're trained to know that arrest is official oppression.
Or a jailer seizing an inmate's personal mail when they know the rules specifically allow the inmate to have it.
Exactly. It's the intentional use of power to mistreat someone illegally. It's bullying with a badge.
Okay. Number 2, what's the second way to commit this?
Number 2 is denial of rights. Intentionally impeding someone from exercising a right or privilege.
Like stopping someone from voting or from protesting.
Yes. Or refusing to let a prisoner see their attorney, or refusing to let a citizen film in a public space where they have a First Amendment right to film. If you block a right that you know they have using your official power, that is official oppression.
And number 3, this one is heavy, sexual harassment.
Yes. And it's really important to note that the Penal Code defines sexual harassment very specifically for this section. This isn't the same broad definition you might see in a civil lawsuit or an HR handbook.
So how does a law define it here in this criminal context?
It defines it as unwelcome sexual advances or requests where submission is made a term or condition of getting rights or privileges.
So this is pure quid pro quo.
Precisely. This isn't just a boss being creepy or telling an off-color joke. This is a public servant explicitly saying, if you want this building permit, or if you want to get out of this speeding ticket, or if you want your water turned back on, you have to do something sexual for me.
That is just, it's disgusting.
It is. It's the ultimate abuse of power. You are holding a citizen's fundamental rights hostage in exchange for sex.
So surely this has to be a major felony, right? I mean, if stealing $2,500 is a felony, surely coercing someone into sex by abusing your office is a felony.
You would think so. It seems logical. But look at the text. Section 39.03, what does it say?
An offense under this section is a Class A misdemeanor.
Correct. Generally speaking, all 3 forms of official oppression, the illegal arrest, the denial of rights, and the sexual harassment, are Class A misdemeanors.
That seems widely up, Alex.
It does to many observers. Stealing a used Honda Civic that's valued at $3,000 is a felony. Officially oppressing a citizen or sexually harassing them under color of office is a misdemeanor.
But wait, there is an exception. There is one specific scenario where official oppression becomes a third-degree felony. And when I read this, I had to read it twice because I couldn't believe this was the only felony exception in this entire section.
You're looking at the EIMS exception.
Yes. Explain this to the listeners. What on earth is PIMS?
PIMS stands for the Public Education Information Management System. It's the massive state database where all the school districts report their data to the Texas Education Agency, things like attendance, grades, test scores, dropout rates, all of it.
Okay, and the law says?
The law says official oppression becomes a third-degree felony if the public servant acted with the intent to impair the accuracy of data reported to PIMS.
Let me get this straight. If a public official illegally arrests and harasses a citizen, misdemeanor.
Misdemeanor.
If a public official fudges the high school dropout numbers to make the district look better,
Felony.
that is exactly what the text says.
Wow.
So why? Why is the data more protected than the person? What is the logic there?
Well, from a legislative standpoint, that PMS data determines billions with a B of dollars in state and federal funding.
Ah, it's about money again.
It's always about money. If you mess with that data, you are messing with the state budget and the allocation of massive resources to schools across Texas. It's a financial crime disguised as an administrative one. The legislature takes the integrity of that data incredibly seriously.
That is a fascinating, if somewhat depressing, insight into legislative priorities. Money talks, even in the Penal Code.
Indeed it does.
Okay, let's move to Section 3 of our outline. We're going deeper into the system.
Yeah.
We're talking about custody and corrections now. Section 39.04.
Right. This section is all about protecting the most vulnerable people in the entire system, those who are locked up and have lost their freedom. The title is Violations of the Civil Rights of Person in Custody.
Who is the target audience for this rule? Who has to follow it?
It's very broad. It's officials of correctional facilities, it's employees, it's volunteers, peace officers, and even juvenile facility staff. Basically, if you work in or around a jail, prison, or juvenile hall, this is your section.
And what are the specific crimes laid out here?
Well, the first one mirrors what we just talked about with oppression. It is a crime to intentionally deny a person in custody their rights or privileges.
Like refusing to feed them or give them water?
Yes, or refusing essential medical care, or denying them access to the law library if they are entitled to it. That starts as a Class A misdemeanor. But if the intent is to harm them, it can escalate to a felony.
But the big focus of 39.04, the part that takes up the most space, seems to be about sex. Subsection A2.
This is what I'd call the zero-tolerance zone. The law states that it is an offense to engage in sexual contact, sexual intercourse, or deviate sexual intercourse with an individual in custody.
And notice what is missing from that sentence.
The word consent.
Exactly. The words without consent are not there.
And that is the crucial takeaway from this whole section. In the eyes of the law, a person in custody cannot consent to sex with their jailer, a guard, or a police officer.
Why is that?
The power dynamic is just too skewed. The state has total control over that person's life, when they eat, when they sleep, their safety. There can be no true, uncoerced consent in that environment. So even if the inmate says yes, even if they initiate it, if you are the guard and you say yes, you have committed a crime.
It removes the he said, she said defense completely, doesn't it?
Completely. If you have the keys and they are behind the bars, it's a crime. Period. End of story.
And the punishment is severe, I'm guessing.
Very severe.
How severe?
It starts as a state jail felony for an adult inmate. But if it involves a juvenile, someone in the custody of the Texas Juvenile Justice Department, it jumps up significantly.
To what?
To a second-degree felony. And in some specific cases involving juveniles, it can even be a first-degree felony.
Yeah.
The law is extremely, extremely protective of minors in the system.
I noticed the language regarding juveniles is even broader. It says, employs, authorizes, or induces the individual to engage in sexual conduct.
Right. That's a great point. With an adult inmate, the crime is the act itself. With a juvenile, simply inducing them, trying to talk them into it, grooming them, planting the seed, is a major felony on its own.
So you can't even start that conversation.
They are drawing a hard line around children in state custody. You cannot even begin to go down that road.
Now, there is a new section here, section 39.041. It looks like it was added recently in 2023.
Yes, that's a new addition. This extends these same protections to what are called civil commitment facilities.
What are those? I've heard the term, but I'm not totally clear.
These are facilities for people who aren't technically in prison, but they aren't free either. Often this applies to violent sexual predators who have served their full prison time but are deemed too dangerous to release back into society.
So they're committed civilly, not criminally.
Exactly. And this new law says same rules apply. Staff in those facilities cannot have sexual contact with people committed there. It's a third-degree felony. It closes a potential loophole.
Okay, now I have to bring up something that stuck out to me as, well, odd. It's in section 39.04x, the spouse defense.
Ah, yes. You found the loophole for love.
Right. It says it is an affirmative defense that the actor was the spouse of the individual at the time of the offense.
Okay, we have to be very, very careful with this one. It applies specifically to subsection F of this law.
And subsection F covers what exactly?
Subsection F covers people under supervision, not strictly custody. We are talking about people on probation or parole.
Ah, okay. That makes a huge difference. That's a critical distinction.
It is. So if you are a probation officer, you generally cannot have a sexual relationship with people under the department's supervision. That's a clear abuse of power. However, if your husband gets arrested for a DWI and is put on probation, the law doesn't force you to get a divorce or stop being intimate with your own spouse. That's what that defense is for.
Got it. So if you are a guard in a state prison and your spouse is an inmate in that same prison?
No defense there. That's custody. That falls under section 39.04a. No sex allowed. The spouse defense is specifically for the supervision side of things, probation and parole contexts.
That is a critical distinction. Do not mix those up, people.
Please don't. It won't go well for you.
All right, section 4, secrets, lies, and insider information. This sounds like a spy movie, but it's actually about paperwork and highways.
It's about the information economy of the government. Information is power, and it's also a thing of value.
Let's start with the grim part, section 39.05. Failure to report death of prisoner.
This is a short section, but it's absolutely vital. If a prisoner dies in custody for any reason, there is a legal requirement to investigate and file a formal report.
And the crime is what, exactly? Not filing the report.
The crime is failing to investigate, failing to report, or, and this is the crucial part, hiding facts. The text says, fails to include in a filed report facts known.
So covering it up.
Exactly. If you know the prisoner died because of a struggle with guards, and you write died of natural causes on the official report, you have violated section 39.05.
And the penalty for that?
It's a Class B misdemeanor.
Now, let's talk about government insider trading. That's what I'm calling it, section 39.06. misuse of official information.
This is a huge issue, especially in local government where zoning and development decisions are made. Public servants often know things months or years before the public does.
So give me a classic scenario.
Okay, imagine you are a city council member. You just came out of a closed-door executive session where you saw the final approved plans for a new highway loop around the city. You know exactly where the off-ramps are going to be.
And that land around those future off-ramps is currently cheap farmland, but it's going to skyrocket in value once the plans are announced.
Precisely. If you, with that secret knowledge, go out and buy that land before the plans are made public, you have committed a crime.
That is subsection A1, acquiring a pecuniary interest.
Pecuniary just means financial. You are using secret government knowledge to make yourself money.
What about just speculating? Like, what if I don't buy the land myself, but I buy stock in the company that I know is going to get the construction contract?
That's covered too, subsection A2. If you speculate or trade on the market based on that non-public info, it's a crime.
And there's a third one here that's interesting. Coercion.
Yes. Coerce is another into suppressing or failing to report that information. This is specifically mentioned for school administrators too. If a superintendent forces a principal to hide bad test scores to protect the district's reputation, that can fall under this statute.
Now, you can also get in trouble just for leaking the info.
Right.
Even if you don't buy any land yourself.
Yes, absolutely. That's in subsection B. If you disclose non-public info to someone else for a non-governmental purpose, like telling your brother-in-law, hey, you should buy this piece of land here, with the intent to benefit him, that is also a crime.
You don't have to profit yourself. You just have to intend for someone else to profit.
Exactly.
And how hard does the hammer drop on this one? This feels serious.
It's generally a third-degree felony. So it's very serious. You're looking at real prison time, 2 to 10 years. But it can get worse.
How does it get worse than a felony?
Subsection G. This was a recent amendment to the law. The punishment now scales based on the net pecuniary gain.
The profit.
The profit.
Wow.
If you make less than $150,000 profit from your insider scheme, it's a third-degree felony. But if you hit the jackpot, if your insider trading nets you over $300,000 in profit,
First-degree felony.
first-degree felony. Again, Texas law looks at the dollar sign. The more corrupt money you make, the more time you'll do.
It really is consistent. The money determines the misery.
That's a good way to put it.
We have one last section to cover, Section 5. This one feels very different from the others. It's about the border and jurisdiction. Section 39.07.
This is failure to comply with immigration detainer requests.
This feels like a very specific political football that got turned into a section of the Penal Code.
It is definitely a direct result of the national debates over sanctuary cities. But looking strictly at the text, it creates a specific mandatory duty for certain law enforcement officials in Texas.
Who is it targeting? Who has to follow this rule?
Sheriffs, chiefs of police, constables, or jail administrators. The people who run the local lockups.
And what does it say they must do?
It says if they have custody of a person, and IC, that's Immigration and Customs Enforcement, issues a detainer request.
Which is basically a request from the feds asking the local jail to hold that person for an extra 48 hours so ICC can come pick them up.
Exactly. The law says the local official must comply with that request.
And if they don't, if the sheriff says, no, we aren't a federal immigration agency, and releases the person when they're eligible for release under state law.
If they knowingly fail to comply, it is a Class A misdemeanor. The sheriff himself can be charged with a crime.
Wow. Is there any way out? What if the person in custody provided proof they are actually a U.S. citizen?
That is the specific exception built into subsection C. It says the official is safe from prosecution if the person provided proof of citizenship or lawful immigration status, like a Texas driver's license or a passport.
So if I'm in jail
Yeah.
and ICE sends a detainer for me, but I show the sheriff my Texas ID.
The sheriff can release you without violating this law, but without that proof, the state law mandates cooperation with the federal request. It removes the discretion from the local sheriff.
It makes cooperation mandatory under threat of criminal penalty for the sheriff himself.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground here. We've gone from stealing Post-it notes to prison sex to government insider trading to immigration enforcement.
It's a very wide-ranging chapter of the law.
So let's zoom out. What does this all mean? If you're listening to this, and maybe you work for the city or the school district, or you're just a taxpayer paying these salaries, what's the big takeaway from Chapter 39?
For me, the takeaway is how the law tries to define public trust. Chapter 39 is, at its heart, an attempt to legislate integrity.
Can you legislate integrity, though?
You can certainly punish the lack of it. The theme here is that when you take that oath of office, you lose certain freedoms that private citizens have.
Right.
You can't use the company car for a personal vacation. You can't have a relationship with the person you have locked in a cell. You can't buy land based on secrets you learn in a closed-door meeting.
And you definitely can't mess with the PIMS data.
Do not touch the school data. That is rule number one.
My aha moment from this deep dive is really about the contrast between the value ladder and what I'll call the human ladder.
Say more about that. What do you mean?
Well, we spent so much time drinking down the dollar amounts in 39.02. The law is meticulous. $100 versus $750 versus $2,500. It treats financial loss with incredible precision.
Right, it's very granular.
But then we look at official oppression in 39.03, using the power of the state to crush someone's rights, to illegally arrest them, to sexually harass them. And it's just a flat misdemeanor across the board.
Unless you mess with the data.
Right. It feels like the code is saying, we can quantify and severely punish the theft of property, but the theft of a person's dignity or freedom, that's less serious.
That is a harsh but arguably accurate reading of the statutory priorities. Property crimes are easy to quantify in dollars and cents. Oppression is messier, and the law seems hesitant to drop the felony hammer on it unless there is a financial or data component attached.
It's just something for the listener to think about. Does our penal code value the checkbook more than the citizen?
That raises a provocative thought for the road, I think. Notice how often the word intent appeared today. Intent to obtain a benefit. Intent to harm. Intentionally subjects.
Yeah, it was in almost every section.
This code doesn't generally punish incompetence. If you are a terrible manager, if you accidentally waste taxpayer money, if you are just plain bad at your job, Chapter 39 probably won't catch you.
It catches malice and corruption.
Exactly. It's not designed to punish stupidity. It's designed to punish criminality.
So you can be an idiot, you just can't be a crook.
Precisely. Being stupid isn't a crime in Texas, but being corrupt is.
On that comforting note, we are going to wrap it up.
Stay out of trouble, everyone.
A huge thank you to our expert for guiding us through the legalese today. This was fascinating.
My pleasure.
And one last reminder to you, the listener. If you enjoyed this breakdown, if you learned something that might keep you or someone you know out of a jumpsuit, please hit that subscribe button.
It helps us help you.
Check out the website for the full text of the sources we discussed today. Until next time, stay informed, stay safe, and always read the fine print.
Especially the fine print.